We are just pleased as can be that Robin had the interest to want to write a story that was retelling of the original classic story from Jane's point of view. As soon as she brought it up, it just sounded like the right thing to do. She took a classic story and turned it into a classic novel. And as she's now created her own masterpiece, and she's here today to tell us all about how she arrived at this book. So let me introduce to you Robin Maxwell.
My first heartthrob was Tarzan. You've got to figure, to a pubescent girl with raging hormones and an overactive imagination, what could be more appealing than a next to naked, gorgeously muscled He-Man, a guy who lived totally free. He feared nothing. He had wild, death-defying experiences and adventures in a jungle paradise. And then I started growing up, and I really forgot about Tarzan for a while. I had been a historical novelist, like Jim said, for over 15 years. So riding down the road one day with Max, he said, well, what's your next book going to be? And not 3 seconds went by, and I suddenly blurted out, Tarzan and Jane. The images must have been bubbling, you know, somewhere deep in my subconscious, like magma waiting to erupt from a volcano. Lurking behind every leaf and every elephant ear, to me, was an opportunity to tell the story in a different way. I was determined that my Jane, and forgive me for calling her my Jane, but that's what she's become, that she was going to be a forward-thinking, strong-minded, brilliantly educated female of her day. And I'd also made this decision that I wanted my book to be based as much in reality as possible. I was keen to lace the story with scientific fact and history. Now, smack in the middle of my research, Max handed me a National Geographic's magazine. And it was a story about a team of paleoanthropologists who 15 years before had discovered in the Awash area of Ethiopia, that's East Africa, a full skeleton of Ardipithecus ramidus, who they called Ardi for short. And that was, to my eye, the closest creature to a missing link that I'd ever seen. What I was thinking was that when Jane meets Tarzan, she discovers that the tribe that brought him up, the Mangani, one that he secretly allows her to observe, is not an extinct missing link species, but a living missing link species. And Jane, who is a budding paleoanthropologist, gets to make one of the biggest scientific discoveries in history. I thought that was cool. I wanted readers to be able to experience, along with Jane, what it was like getting to know Tarzan and finding out if she could fall in love with a man who grew up believing he was an ape. I wanted my Jane to have a full transformation, what we call in storytelling as a character arc. In this case, from a well-educated Cambridge girl, Edwardian girl, to a fit mate for Tarzan. Somebody who could, at least in part, take care of herself in the jungle.